And welcome to Ditch Witch Diaries. This time I'm going to present, and I am presenting on a very amazing tree. So let me just get us started. And if you see that tree, like that's how amazing it is. Like I think camphor is so amazing, and there's some fun, amazing things about it. So let's just
Oh,
get.
whoa.
I know. So there's two main things that they're talking about, two main trees or whatever, Camphora officinarum or Cinnamomum camphora. So,
Okay.
this is what it looks like. That's a picture, and then that's what AI thinks it looks like. So, pretty close, not so
Nice.
bad. So the parts used is mainly it's the oil extracted from the tree, but also there's like white crystal resin as well that's camphor. But people use the leaves, the roots, the stem, the wood, and you can extract the oil from all parts of
Mm.
this. So other names are, and I can't even pronounce this, Alconferera, Arbor del Alcanform, Bombzangle, Camphire, Chang Now, Gum Camphor, Camp, Cam, Calf, Kafur, Camphor Trade, Carperum, Husu no Ki, Laurel Camphor. This is a wild one. Makafuri Matai and Ravensara.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Nice.
So the word camphor, it comes from an old French word, camphre, camphre maybe, which comes from the medieval Latin word camphora, which comes from the Arabic word kafur. So that's where you get all those names. So originally Arabic.
Nice.
And that this is native to Southern Asia. And we're going to see most of the lore and stories. That's where we get it from. So this tree is an evergreen and it has these clusters of white flowers that turn into red or and black berries. So you don't even get camphor as a substance unless the tree is more than 50 years old.
Mm.
I know. So these are old trees that are producing this crystalline substance, camphor. So these trees can be like 40 to 90 feet tall and they're really wide at the base. They have like this rounded shape on the top that spreads out. The leaves are oval shape and dark green, and it's fragrant. Like you can smell like it in the leaf when you crush the leaves, and sometimes even like just walking by camphor trees, you can smell them. Very fragrant trees. So we're going to talk about this more, but it was introduced to Florida in 1875 and it became established in plantations there.
Mm.
Cosmetic factories use it in the manufacturing of fragrances.
Mm.
It's also in house cleaning products and it's even a flavoring for foods. So camphor oil, this essential oil, it's extracted through a process of steam distillation, and they can, like I said, they can use any of these parts, the branches, the roots, the bark. And then it goes through this vacuum rectification and filtering process, and you get four different types of camphor from it, like essential oil: yellow, white, blue, and brown. And really it's even diluted further, and but the only kind that we see is white. The other kinds are mostly used in like laboratories because they're like really harsh.
Mm.
So first, let's talk about Hindu and the lore, stories, and cultural importance. So in Hindu traditions, camphor is symbolic of human life. Okay, so camphor, when it's burned, it leaves no trace. And same with us. Like the idea is that like when we die, like the only thing that should be left of us is the sweet smell of our memories. It represents the eternal flame of Lord Shiva.
Mm.
And yeah, camphor is used in the Karpura Niranjanam ritual, and which is like, so during puja, there's these puja is, from what I understand, are like some a form of daily prayer. And you seek blessings and ask forgivenesses for any mistakes that were made, either knowingly or unknowingly. And the smell is said to please deity in Hindu traditions as well.
Mm.
So also in Iran, and so it's very important in Iranian traditions. So even in pre-Islamic Iran, according to the Shahnameh, camphor and other aromatics like aloes wood, ambergris, which is like ambergris is from Wales, so how they got it
Yeah.
there is like unbelievable. It must have been such a process to get it to Iran. And musk, they were used to embalm bodies of heroes and royalty. So kings and royalty in Iran, they hoarded this stuff. It was associated in Iran with whiteness, as a like probably because it has a white crystal, but as opposed to the black skin of slaves, black skinned people were called camphor as a joke because it was like the opposite color. So if you were dark skinned, then you were called white, like something that was really white. And it was also, but it was also associated with the whiteness of hair of old age. So it's like, I guess that's like a popular thing to do, is to call somebody the opposite of what they are.
Yeah, Little John for the guy who's like
What?
6'6" and
Yeah,
like
called,
Little John.
yeah, tiny. It's a tiny.
Yeah, tiny.
So then even though during Islamic time, um, it it was like associated with funerary rituals, and it was to be rubbed on the 7 parts of a corpse, and that's spelled wrong. So let's see. There. Uh-oh. Okay. The forehead, the palms, the knees, and the 2 big toes. So it's supposed to be in the Quran too. There's supposed to be some mention of it in the Quran. So there's like this huge article that you'll see that's about like camphor use in Iran. So in Europe, it was used as a fumigant during the Black Plague. So I love all the plague doctors.
Love it.
Okay, then we get to Japan. And in Japan, it is huge and important. So it is a common tree. We've talked about these spirits before, the kadama spirits, and they often inhabit natural things in nature like trees. And there's certain trees that they choose to inhabit more often. And in this instance, one of them is the camphor tree, and especially trees that oversee temple shrines. And you'll know that this is a kadama tree because there'll be twine around the base of the tree with white strips of paper. And that's going to come back as well. So in other...
I like that picture with like the face in it.
Exactly. So there's actually a 30-meter tall camphor tree that stands at a shrine in Hiroshima.
Mm.
And it's camphor trees are also they're considered survivor trees. Okay, so they're camphor trees that survived Hiroshima and Nagasaki because they thrive in disturbed soil. They were called Hibakuju Moku, or survivor trees.
Very cool. Very cool.
Nice.
So more Japan. So there's like stories here. So let's talk about this story about the camphor tree tomb. And this tells the tale of a sacred camphor tree in Nakoma Myojin Forest of the Iwaki province in Japan. And this tree was venerated by villagers and was guarded by Hamato Tsushima. So in 1658, after a fire devastated much of Yedo, now Tokyo, a contractor named Kinokuniya Buzaimon, geez, the worst at that, sought the tree to build a grand palace. And like through all sorts of hideous means of bribery and a forged permit even, he obtained permission to cut down this tree, despite that it was sacred to villagers and despite that they protested it. So was Tsushima was heartbroken by this desecration, and he committed ritual suicide, vowing his spirit would protect the tree. So workers struggled to move the failed tree, and they encountered some eerie resistance and even injuries when they tried. So a retainer of Lord Date Tsunamuni later exposed the fraud and of Kinokuniya, and he was later leading to his mysterious death that was believed to be from Tsushima's spirit exacting revenge against him. So the sacred tree was unable to be moved, and to this day it remains in the grove, where it continues to grow as a revered monument known as the Camphor Tree Tomb. So there you go. It's quite a story.
Nice.
And then more in Japan. So this is in Nagasaki this time. There's a 400 to 500-year-old camphor tree in the village of Arafuku that means luck is present. And it holds deep religious and medicinal significance. Local legends say that there was a plague that struck after the tree was nearly destroyed. And they had to do a ritual to appease the tree's spirit, and it ended the plague, and it earned its reputation as a guardian against misfortune and disease. So the tree then regrew even more hardy with 7 trunks and was designated a national monument in 1970. So in Taiwan, this isn't mythology. This is like about the Camphor Wars that went on from 1868 to 1876 in Formosa, which is now Taiwan. So there was these conflicts between the Qing dynasty and the indigenous Taiwanese people over camphor and its production. And camphor derived from these camphor trees was highly valued and prized. It was used in medicine and incense, and also as a plasticizer for early plastics like celluloid. So the Qing dynasty or Qing dynasty, they wanted to monopolize the trade and meet the demand for production of camphor. And they would infringe upon the indigenous lands. And so there was resistance, of course, from the indigenous people, and it led to violence and as they defended their territories and their resources. And these conflicts highlighted colonial exploitation and cultural and economic tensions in Taiwan during this period. There was actual all-out wars called the Camphor Wars about camphor. Then we moved to China, and one of the earliest recordings was in China in the 16th century. It was recorded as being used as a medicine in China. And then we moved to Italy, camphor is mentioned in Marco Polo's travelogues in the 13th century. In Rome, this is super interesting. It was found in Charlemagne's court as part of his lavish perfume collection. I didn't even realize that Charlemagne had a lavish perfume collection, but rad.
Surprise.
It's surprise. There are times in my life where I've had a pretty lavish perfume collection, but not anymore. I'm down to one. My Charlemagne. So in South Africa, in 1898, Cecil John Rhodes, he planted a row of camphor trees, and this is kind of sad. It was to remind Queen Victoria of her like expanding colonialism in Asia, probably.
Hmm.
I know. So let's take the trees out of Asia and plant them in South Africa.
You know how you do.
But guess what? Those trees were slippery little suckers. They expanded out of this row of trees, and now they're considered an invasive species in South Africa.
Oh, you're gonna put me as a symbol of colonialism? Fuck you.
Exactly. I love it. I know, that's great. So then in America, we have some lore here too, like I told before, but it was brought to America. In 1875, it was brought to America and it became kind of a symbol of Southern living. And
Hmm.
then in 1890, they were planted in Jacksonville, Florida by Pickering. So, and Madagascar, crazy things happen in Madagascar. If something gets to Madagascar, it changes. Okay, it like evolves in weird ways. And same, it also happened with the camphor. So it was brought to the island and it adapted. So instead of producing camphor resin, it produces eucalyptol. So weird.
Oh, weird.
Isn't
It
that
turned
weird?
itself into a eucalyptus tree.
I know, very strange. So, and there,
Whoa.
I know. So in Madagascar, it's called, that's where we get the name Ravensara, which is a combination of two words in Malagasy, Ravina, and Sara, which means the leaf that provides well-being.
Aw.
Oh, now my favorite. Okay, pop culture reference of all time. You can see by this beautiful picture here.
Oh, yes.
So
That's some
in
original art.
Miyazaki's My Neighbor Totoro, Totoros, or like forest, a type of forest spirit, they inhabit the massive camphor tree marked by a Shinto shrine and Shimenawa. So the tree symbolizes solace and protection as two girls cope with their mother's illness, reflecting its medicinal and spiritual association. So what happens
Fantastic.
is that Totoro lives in a camphor tree. And one of the little girls, May, she falls into the roots and finds the sleeping Totoro. And they have like this encounter back and forth, and where
He roars at him and it's adorable, yeah.
it's adorable. And
I
she
love
learns his name is Totoro, and then she falls
it.
asleep on Totoro's belly.
Aw.
So and then here I wanted to show you that around this humongous Totoro, this humongous camphor tree in Totoro, they have like, because it's inhabited by a spirit, they have like the rope with like the paper coming off of it, the white.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I see it. Yeah,
Exactly.
I do see that right there.
There it is. And there's May. Oh, I love
Yeah.
May. I love
There's May.
Oh, that was my first Miyazaki movie that I ever saw, and I loved it so
Yeah,
much.
that's a good one.
It's so good. Highly recommended. Go out and watch it right
Very
I
adorable.
haven't seen that.
now. Okay, so the correspondences. It's associated with the element of water, and the planet is the moon. The tarot is the chariot, interestingly enough. And so for the chakra, it's supposed to heal all like your chakras and like help with imbalances in all of your chakras, but it stimulates your heart and your third eye. The Sabbat that it's associated with is Samhain, interestingly enough. And the moon phase is the moon in Cancer, when it's in Cancer during any
Aw.
Goddesses it's associated with are Artemis, Vesta, Diana, Durga, Kuan Yin, which we see in the picture, and all maiden and other virginal goddesses. So because it's associated with chastity, and we're going to see why, it reduces sexual desire. So it eliminates, if you want to eliminate some attention from somebody, you should use camphor to eliminate unwanted attention. It's also used for control. So there's where we see why possibly the associated with the chariot, right? So it's also good if you want to be persuasive in your control. It also works with divination and psychic power, hence the third eye chakra thing. It's good for dream work, and if you want it for dream work and to have true dreams, you should blend it with myrrh.
Meh.
Myrrh. It's good for past life regression, prophetic dreams, and meditation. Also for healing. Got used for healing all over the place. So more magical properties. It's good for house blessing, moon magic, purification. You can use it as incense or place, like, because it comes when you get it in blocks, and you can place the blocks in the corners of a room. So who do you think said that? Who loves stuff in the corners of the room?
Ironwood.
That's right! We love the four corners of a room.
Corners of a room. I love this one.
Exactly. Okay, so another one that she gave was that you can crumble a square of this in a bottle and pour Florida water over it and leave that open to cleanse the room.
Yeah.
So it's good for cleansing the home or the temple of all negativity. It will leave only joy and health. So you can also put it in a bag, and this should have been with a star in it because it's also part of cleansing and purification. You should put it in a bag with hyssop and lemongrass and carry it around to cleanse your aura.
Ooh.
It's also used for power. It ramps up power in any spell. So it's one of those herbs or things that you can add to any spell to make it more powerful. It also can increase your personal power. You can put it in a red bag with orris root. And it's good for protection. So, the disclaimer. This is only for your informational, educational enjoyment. We're not providing medical advice, so don't use this to diagnose or treat any health issue or disease, okay? If you are having problems, seek out a physician or health professional.
We're also not dentists.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are not
either.
dentists.
Exactly.
None of the 10 dentists are us.
Exactly. So the medicinal properties, it's an analgesic, an anesthetic, an anti-inflammatory, an antiseptic, an antispasmodic, carminative, convulsant, diaphoretic, expectorant, insecticide, a nervine, a sedative, a stimulant, and a vulnerary. So before using any of the essential oils on you or in the room, you're supposed to dilute it. It's just a warning because it's pretty strong. So because you'll see why.
Skin irritation.
Exactly. It's the old rheumatism cure, but in a different way. It's used as a counter irritant. So yeah, exactly. Not like as a anti-inflammatory, although it does say that it's an anti-inflammatory, but it can be used as a counter irritant. Also externally, it's an irritant and but it's a numbing agent. So numbs the peripheral sensory nerves. It's easily absorbed into the subcutaneous tissue. I know. It's good for use for toenail fungus, which is good to know because lots of times, especially men suffer with toenail fungus. They're more susceptible than women to it. And the cure, the antifungals you have to take are really hard on your system. Like I've known men who have taken it and have had permanent numbness in like the bottom of their feet from the antifungals. Exactly. It's supposed to soothe nervous excitement. You can use it in quote hysteria,
hysteria. Jesus Christ!
I know, I love it. I think I got that from maybe Grieve or something.
Oh, good God!
Hysteria. I'm always hysterical. I feel hysterical quite regularly.
Hysteria.
Let me just say, I am completely convinced that I would be permanently incarcerated.
Oh, for sure. No, I know. You used to be institutionalized for being a woman. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would, and I'm convinced I would be that woman to be in like permanently institutionalized for my hysteria and nervousness. I have nervousness.
No, you have nervous hysteria. It's because of your hysterical womb.
It's common for me. I know, I'm common.
Hysterical.
I am.
I know. It drives me nuts. I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about that.
I do too, but whatever.
So
I would definitely
yeah.
be used against me for sure.
Oh, for sure.
I know for a
Yeah, don't
fact
worry.
there's quite a few men in my past that would have certainly institutionalized.
That paper, absolutely.
So it's good for your circulatory system. It's supposed to be an excitant in the cases of heart failure, and it's supposed to be a stimulant to circulation. It's good for colds and chills, and it's a natural moth repellent. And so, as essential oil, it's supposed to help nervous depression. So, oh my God, that's me. I think I need to invent.
Hysterical.
I have nervous depression. I'm like nervous and excitable and like flighty and like all I do, like
What's over there? Oh no.
this
It
is
was
with the
nothing.
fingers. This.
Oh, I'm such a fool.
I know. And then the
I'm
depression.
hysterical.
It's a fun combination.
Oh.
It stimulates circulation, like we said before, the essential oil does as well, and it's good for your metabolism, and it's good for digestion as well.
I'm super into this. I'm gonna write it down. Camphor.
Camphor, me too. I know. I think I need some camphor. And here's all the places
Put that in
where
my belly.
there's
Yeah.
really good ones. But like, so look, the Iranica online they have a whole article about camphor. So if you're interested in the Iranian stories, then that's some place to look. But most of these places are like ancient tales and folklore of Japan, or like there's a bunch of these like Tokyo naturalist, like a lot of them that come from interesting places like that. So that is it. Stop the sharing. And camphor is so rad. I don't have any camphor, but I will be getting some camphor, and I want to get it in the blocks instead, because sometimes you can get it in the liquid, like the essential oil, but I want to see if I can get it in the square crystalline blocks. Anyway,
Nice.
I'll just put it up against my
Lick it.
Carry on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yes. Like just a little at first.
Exactly. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned a lot about camphor, and go out and watch My Neighbor Totoro. And and now they don't. Okay, so another little thing about My Neighbor Totoro, it's fixed now. But when I originally saw it for the first time, I saw it and it was Japanese with only the Japanese subtitles. And it was so good. And this Japanese subtitles were so meaningful and impactful, the way that they worded it. And then when it came out like in like English, they changed some of the words, like they were irritating. I will tell you, very irritating. Like it was
so like before it was a literal translation, and then they kind of like smoothed it out.
like
they like Americanized it. There was this big trend when they first started importing anime. They did it with Sailor Moon too, where they just completely changed everything and they Americanized it. And Sailor Moon got pulled. They said, "We're not letting America you're not allowed to have any of it." And luckily they talked Miyazaki into it by saying, "We'll redo it and you can have full say over the translation."
So it used to be like dust spirits, dust sprites or something. They used to be called these little black dust sprites. And then they were called dust something. They changed them into like dust
mites or dust bunnies or something like that.
Some
I think
stupid thing. And I was like, this does not possibly it does not encapsulate what it really is. Like there was a bunch of those that they changed like the names of things so that it wasn't like what it was supposed to be. Like it was like, I'm like, it's not supposed to be that. Like, and then I hated it for a while, but then they changed it back. So now if you go and see it, it's like even if you get the English version, it's all right. It's
Miyazaki approved.
Yes, there you go. So I hope you guys enjoy Totoro and Camphor and everything that it has to offer, and we will see you at the next Ditch Witch Diary.